and welcome to the ICT Pulse podcast. I'm Michelle Marius, your host and the editor and publisher of ICT Pulse, the online platform where we discuss ICT issues from a Caribbean perspective. Thanks to platforms such as ChatGPT, Bard, and DALL-E 2, artificial intelligence, AI, has become so mainstream that we might now take our access and use of them for granted. However, while we focus on the benefits we have realized over the past year through AI, conversations are being held in the various corridors of power on the future of AI, including the ways in which it can be leveraged to increase productivity, competitiveness, and even profit. Unfortunately, developing countries, including those in the Caribbean region, are really part of those conversations. However, today we'll be talking with someone who had an opportunity to participate in the 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, which was held from the 15th to the 19th of January in Davos-Klosters, Switzerland. Joel Dean is a software architect and tech entrepreneur who is based in Jamaica and is a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers community, which is a network comprising people under the age of 30 who are working together to address local, regional, and global challenges. The recently concluded World Economic Forum annual meeting had representatives from over 100 governments, all of the major international organizations, 1,000 of the forum's partners, civil society leaders, experts, youth representatives, social entrepreneurs, etc. The meeting was convened under the theme Rebuilding Trust, and a key work stream of the event was artificial intelligence as a driving force for the economy and society, which was one of its thematic priorities. So in this episode, we'll be chatting with Joel about the AI-related issues that were discussed, important takeaways he had from those discussions, and how we in the Caribbean and perhaps even more broadly, developing countries should be positioning ourselves for AI and the future of tech. Joel, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Michelle. It's like you've already summarized everything I've experienced.
Oh, but I know it's so much because Davos and that meeting, which is held annually, is such a key meeting point, I think, for global thinkers. And just the fact that you had an opportunity to participate, and I'm not aware of anybody else from the region who went. It would be good to get some of the insights that were shared, especially since I think we are working in our own little bubble, but there's a bigger world and a bigger picture and bigger set of viewpoints of influential people who are shaping technology and the world of which we are not aware. But, before we start, jumping into that, and I'm so excited to do so, probably just tell us a little bit more about who you are and your interest and involvement in AI.
Yes, as you rightly said, I am a software engineer. I'm a lover of technology. I've been in this field for over 15 years, and I know that makes me sound old, but it's because I've been programming since I was around 15 years old. So I have been interested in building apps, and around 10 years ago, I built my first AI app. It was an app called Happy Face that allows you to talk to an AI bot, and if you're happy or sad, it would offer words of encouragement. It would cheer you on. It was basically there like a cheerleader on your phone that you could talk to each day. So that was 10 years ago. Fast forward to now, I'm now leveraging ChatGPT and the underlying models for code generation, and it has been an amazing experience. Before ChatGPT became extremely popular, I was playing around with the AI model that they were utilizing for research before launching ChatGPT. So I've always prided myself in being at the forefront of cutting-edge technology like artificial intelligence. So my overall experience with AI has been, building that app, but also working in the US tech industry for the past decade, utilizing various forms of AI for analysis, predictive outcomes, recommendations. So now our world is focused on a different type of AI, which is generative AI. And this is the ability for AI to create images, videos, and audio that is almost human-like in its nature.
Yes. So how then now did you get involved with Davos? And tell us just a little bit more about the World Economic Forum and the meeting you attended.
So my involvement in Davos arises because I am a member of the Global Shapers community, the Kingston Hub. So the Kingston Hub is basically a group of young people in Kingston who are involved in projects that aim to impact our city. So we basically create impact projects. We're talking about clothing drives, networking sessions, mentorship programs, blood drives, climate-related projects. If there is a major challenge in our city, as young people, we try to look at innovative solutions. And the World Economic Forum has organized this amazing community where there are 500 hubs across the globe. So in every major city, there is a hub. So we can solve local challenges and then we can share solutions and collaborate on the global stage. So the World Economic Forum cares deeply about engaging with the youth of today because they're the leaders of tomorrow. So the Global Shapers is basically a feeder system that helps to promote the voices of impactful young people. So what they did this year, and they have done in the past, is they have a program called Davos 50, where 50 amazing shapers from across the globe are able to represent their cities. Hundreds of people apply, and they select 50 folks who are interested in representing their countries in various stakeholder meetings, and folks who have an agenda to partake in conversations on the world stage.
Right. And just give us like a little sort of synopsis of your overall experience, and then we'll dive into, the meat of the matter.
So my overall experience at Davos was really exciting. I'm going to be honest, like one of the things that was really impactful for me was to just be in the space of a lot of these AI leaders. There were folks like Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce. Actually walking in each day and like seeing these people like in front of my eyes, that was just mind-blowing because one, I think it's a totally different experience when you read about people online and when you see them just casually having a conversation or a coffee. It's a really interesting experience that just showcases that we're just all human and we are all focused on various goals and we're approachable. You can talk to people, you can have exchanges. So that was one of the interesting things. One of the second things about the experience was just how mind-blowingly important the event was because journalists from all across the globe had stations set up throughout the entire conference center that was hosting the event. So just walking by each day, you could hear journalists in various languages broadcasting to various parts of the world. And then I would refresh my Twitter feed and I would see updates coming out of the event. So it's like, it was the first time in my life I was at the center of the world. That's what it felt like because I was seeing tons of people from all across the globe talking about the event in real time while I was there. And overall, it was just amazing to be in sessions that were not only AI specific, but sessions on climate change, geopolitical challenges. There were various sessions with prime ministers and presidents from across the globe that were sharing their insights and having a first-hand experience of these insights was very transformative. So yeah, that sums it up in a nutshell, like just how I felt being in that space and being able to meet such impactful technological leaders.
Right. And I can certainly appreciate that. I mean, the WF annual meeting is it's almost like the place to be in January. It is probably the
Yeah.
biggest event every year. Um, so I can really appreciate just the just the sort of impact that it would have had on you, just seeing some of the names that you would read about in the paper, and here it is that they're right in
Yeah.
front of your eyes. But anyway, let's kind of get down to the meat of the matter, which is AI. And as I did say earlier on, there was AI was seen as a thematic priority. So they had a big like work stream of different sorts of talks and conversations and so on that would have happened. So I guess
Yes.
what might have been some of the major themes or recurring sort of issues that probably came up through the sessions time and time again that you
Yes.
think might be worthy of us hearing about?
Yes, that's a very good question, Michelle. So some of the themes throughout the conversation at Davos, folks were very concerned about AI being utilized to turbocharge misinformation. We have seen how technology can be misused to impact elections, to impact how the world perceives certain global issues and threats. The advent of generative AI with the ability to generate deep fakes is a real challenge because it has the potential to undermine trust and distort reality. And trust was a major topic at Davos this year. One of the other challenges that folks spent a lot of time like diving into and exploring solutions is the impact of AI on job markets. So when we introduce AI in various sectors, example, customer support, business development, what happens to various countries that have utilized these sectors to grow their economies. AI has the potential to actually widen economic disparities. So that was something that was a very, interesting exploration. And then we still had a bit of discussions about the future of AI. There is this discussion about AI and AGI, and AGI is artificial general intelligence, which is basically a more advanced version of AI that is capable of doing even more, human-related tasks. So there was like a lot of various discussions. Some folks are on that bandwagon about it coming soon, and others are saying, hey, don't get ahead. The current version of AI is here to stay for a long time. So, that was like an interesting discussion. But I think the core meat of the matter was all about harnessing AI for the benefit of humanity. I think at a high level, there was a really positive, optimistic outlook on the potential of AI to benefit the world. We are seeing where AI is allowing practitioners to have between 20 to even 40% improvement in their productivity. We're seeing AI allowing businesses to have 10, 20% increases in their profit. So AI can actually be a force for good that will allow folks to improve their performance, improve their businesses, communicate more clearly, optimize processes that were digital, that were not digital. And we are now seeing a world where AI is going to be integrated in almost every single part of society. Hence, the focus of bringing all of these thought leaders to Davos to have these discussions. Because as we progress throughout the year, more capable models, they will be training more capable models that can do so much more. And all of these models need to be managed in and interesting fashion. So AI governance and AI regulation was a very big topic. And I think at the core, that is where we're sitting right now. How do we regulate this amazing technology that can have, varied effects?
Wow, lots to unpack because I have been frantically making notes as you've been writing.
Yeah.
So even let's kind of break them down and start to flesh them out a little bit. So first one you mentioned was just the how AI is turbocharging misinformation, and you mentioned deep fakes. Was there any sort of solutions or approaches that were being encouraged? And I guess that might even tie now into the AI governance and regulation aspect of it, because one of the challenges that we have up to a point is that the AI can be so good in terms of developing the deep fakes that we may not be able to readily distinguish it from what is authentic. So I don't know if there was any sort of conversation about approaches that could be taken or policies that probably they were advocating be adopted.
Yes. So yes, the EU has AI Act and a group of policies that they have been actively deploying and refining as the AI industry has advanced. The United States also has their own version of policies, acts, and laws for the governance of AI. So a lot of the discussions from a solution standpoint, one, it was all about the policies. Once these policies are enacted, we then need to enforce these policies. The enforcement of these policies is not necessarily clear because AI can be leveraged in so many different ways. But at the end of the day, if we spot cases that involve AI for misinformation or misuse, the policies that have been created are able to be applied to these cases. So even though AI has this wide, vast area of what you can do with it, we still have things as a society that are the rules and regulations that help society to have what we call our societal norms. These societal norms can all be adapted to the artificial intelligence space. So what lawmakers were basically emphasizing is that we need to ensure that we are enforcing the regulations, but we also need to leave room for innovation. So that was one of the main takeaways that came out of that discussion. The second discussion that was being had among a lot of the AI leaders that are training the models, that are procuring the compute resources to create these technologies, is that there needs to be more guardrails being put in place to ensure that AI is not misused. These guardrails are basically programmatic behavior that ensures that the model is not able to generate various outputs when the user is interfacing with the model. One of the biggest challenges with creating these guardrails, though, is that these AI models are already out in the wild. So the larger companies, they can create guardrails and protect these systems, but the open source community that has models in their hands can still take these models and tweak them and redeploy. So what we're seeing is a combined approach of providing guardrails for the larger AI systems that are most publicly accessible, and then creating a regulatory framework that aims to govern the wider usage of AI for systems that cannot be aligned, because if folks then bring them into the mainstream for misuse and information, the rules and the laws and the regulations of various countries and areas across the globe can be utilized to enforce, to basically enforce proper usage. And I think that can work. I think there are some nuances, but I think it's a good start.
I kind of have a little bit of an issue with it because, at least from what you said, and it is that it's going to almost create like multi-tiers of AI, and I mean it probably is going to happen and is happening already. You have what
Yes.
is available, let's say, for the mainstream, which is very watered down. It's very restricted in what it can do and
Yes.
its capabilities. But then in other circles, you're going to have access to tools and platforms that are considerably more sophisticated, where the guardrails may not necessary because it is not supposedly being available for public consumption. So you may find that moneyed companies,
Yes.
enterprises, and certainly governments as well, may have access to very, very sophisticated technologies for which the rules do not apply. And so that just has me a little bit concerned. I mean, I
Yes.
recognize that it is probably almost inevitable that the technology that mere mortals would have access to would be considerably less advanced than what may actually be available. But I think that somehow we are beginning to see that principle just being embedded and maybe even universally accepted. And I just wonder whether or not we have given enough thought to that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Michelle. That is something that I see being a possibility. I think at the end of the day, larger enterprises will always have resources to fine tune and create custom models that operate within whatever boundaries they define as what needs to be guarded or outputted or not. I think the main thing that's comforting for me is that the nature of capitalism, the nature of markets, and how the tech industry operates is that the most capable model will always win. So even if there are AI systems that have more guardrails, like the ones that are publicly accessible to you and me, the capabilities that they have will not be guarded because they want our money. They want us to utilize these models. They want us to give it our information to train it, which is a whole other topic. And because of that, they will always be competing. So right now in the space, it's pretty exciting. At the top is OpenAI's GPT-4 Turbo model. But right behind is Facebook's Meta's Llama. So they have a model that they are training in hopes of beating GPT-4. So we basically have those are two amazing labs. And then we have Gemini from Google as well, that is also fighting in those ranks. So Microsoft, Meta, and Google are competing. These research labs are putting out more capable models every day, and these models are going out to the general public. And what they're saying to the public is, hey, my model is better than that model, use mine. So even if these systems have, less guardrails in private settings, I think what we can do as a public, say for example, we're a part of public entities and spaces where we can encourage AI usage, is find the parts of the system that don't have a lot of guardrails and utilize it to the best of their ability. That's what I've done. So, for example, I mainly utilize it for code generation because it helps me to code faster. I also utilize it to write faster as well and do research if I need that capability. But there are things that are just a lot more complex. There are sensitive topics that AI may not want to discuss or explore. So I just don't use it, for that particular use case. So I think that's the balance that we're going to have to strike, because we will not get rid of the multi-tier AI system. It's going to always be in place based on just the power laws of how these, various tech companies and organizations operate with the resources that they have.
Yes, definitely. But then it also leads me to, and you made mention of just the whole capitalist framework. And you also mentioned the point about the impact of AI on the job market, widening the economic disparities. And that could be in the form of at a country level, because you
Yes.
have wealthier countries and those that are developing. But it can also, and you also did mention, and I think within that context, talking about actual jobs in terms of those that may be very sort of customer focused, and thus probably looking at the human element and human interaction. But with the models becoming as sophisticated as they are, those are probably areas that are ripe for AI to actually take over those sorts of activities. And as much as I think that, for example, let's say for the offshore outsourcing industry in the region, so what you probably hear as BPO, business process outsourcing, may be an area that could be significantly affected. And here in Jamaica, where I think the industry is like at least 50,000 people, and the government is hoping that it could even double it and so on, you begin to wonder, as much as, for example, the selling point for us in the Caribbean, especially the English-speaking Caribbean, where, for example, BPO is concerned, is, our ease of communicating, our affinity to North America, where a lot of the clients are based and a lot of the customers are based, the understanding the cultural nuances of North America, our accents are not, too jarring, and people may even want to envision that they live in the Caribbean. So it's a nice way
Yes.
of relating to people and engaging people. So we have had quite a bit of success in the sort of voice-driven aspects. And as much as here, at least in Jamaica, some of the industry leaders in BPO have been trying to say that, the jobs are secure, and basically, that's my words, but basically trying to allay fears. I mean, from what I'm getting from you is that any and every sector and function is ripe for AI to be leveraged. So I don't know if you want to share some insights on that, whether or not at least my initial thoughts may be something that you may sense what was consistent with what you were hearing at the meeting. Just share with us your views, please.
Yes, those are some amazing points. I made some notes to answer clearly. So the impact on the job markets, that impact will depend on how you respond. If you do not adopt AI in your workflows, especially for industries that involve outsourcing, customer support, those industries that are, business process oriented, if you do not adopt AI, there will be job loss. Because what will happen is there will be other BPO sectors in various other countries that will adopt AI and win the business over. However, the AI systems that we have today cannot think and they cannot reason. It is artificial, so it does have some amount of reasoning capabilities, but you cannot give an AI an entire access to all parts of a particular business process outsourcing entity. So for example, let's use an example. Amazon per se. Say you have a team in Jamaica that is supporting Amazon. It is not safe to give an AI system the ability to refund orders. That actual process should be handled by a human. However, querying the orders, actually figuring out what went wrong, where it went wrong, what can be done to alleviate the situation, all of that can be done by AI. And then when an action needs to take place, it is handed over to an actual customer care representative. So what we're looking at here is the focus of generative AI is not to replace humans. It's actually to augment intelligence. So let's stop calling it artificial intelligence. Let's call it augmented intelligence. Basically, the ability of the systems to extend the capabilities of people so that they can really do more and just feel better at work because they're more productive. So our industry, our BPO industry can actually win. We can even make more jobs if we become AI enabled, and we're more AI enabled than other countries. And the only difference between us and those countries will be the deployment of AI and actually training folks to use it. Because AI has leveled the playing field from a technological standpoint. So if we are able to leverage AI, we'll be able to provide even more value. And that was a part of the discussion that I was hearing about other BPO sectors across the globe for some major brands, where these companies were able to take a typical customer care representative that was doing only support, and now they are doing support, sales, marketing, all at once while working less. So we can actually enable our representatives to extend their capabilities, to increase their output, to earn more, to get training, all by utilizing AI as a means of integrating these new modern generative workflows for increased capacity in the sector. So that is the way how I look at the ability of the sector to survive. So someone will look at me and they will say, okay, yes, I get what you're saying, but if we introduce AI, that means we're going to need less people. That could be true, yes, but it all depends. If we introduce AI and we open up even more capabilities for our sector to support even much larger companies, there are companies that would want to utilize our BPO sector that they probably can't, because we just don't have the capabilities in our agents, in our people. But if our people actually start utilizing AI, they could say, wow, the BPO sector in Jamaica is really booming. They're really leveraging AI. I think they can actually manage some additional workflows of these larger Fortune 500 companies. So there are two sides to look at it. If you do not adopt AI, there will be job loss. If you adopt AI and you do not increase the capacity and the value you can add, there will be job loss. So at the end of the day, if you do not want to have your market, your job markets being impacted, it's all about the strategies and the approaches that you take to integrate AI, because I strongly believe that the shifts that are taking place with technology now will need even more workers. It will need more people to actually steer the system. The system cannot think, it cannot reason. It will not replace mission critical tasks. Microsoft constantly says it in their releases. Google, Facebook, all of them are saying it. Do not give this system access to critical things that involve money, that involve healthcare decisions. There always has to be what we call a human in the middle, a human that is there supervising the decisions that are being made by these artificial systems. And once we have that human in the middle, then we'll always have jobs, because those people will be there to ensure that the systems are performing as expected.
Right. And I guess I'm getting a bit of almost like a takeaway, because the whole now issue is education. And
yes.
I mean, whether we are, the outputs from our education system are adequate to meet what is happening today. I was going to say the future, but even what is happening today and where technology is leading us. So probably let me just, as they would say, stick a pin in that for a little bit, because I still wanted to just touch through some of the other issues. So you had also mentioned about harnessing AI for the benefit of humanity. I guess, what did that look like? Because I think we have been talking a lot about like ethics in AI, but then you have the just the ways in which I think maybe too with a new technology we sort of push the envelope. We are seeing whether even for the use of AI for misinformation, disinformation, the criminal element that can also have access to AI. I guess what was some of the thinking about AI for the benefit of humanity?
So I think one of the major thought processes around AI for the betterment of humanity is looking at some of the core challenges that we have within the world and just seeing how AI can be applied to them. There are various approaches and challenges, but I can name you just two right now. In the world today, we have a big challenge when it comes on to communication because of all the various languages that we have. We have all of these languages, and when we bring people or entities into the global market, we may have disparities based on how people can communicate. These models that we have now can speak in possibly over 100 languages. So one of the focuses in terms of advancing humanity is utilizing AI as a mechanism for empowering people to communicate clearer. So for example, in our country, Jamaica, do you know that when I'm working in the days, I actually talk to AI in Patois?
Oh, okay.
I actually do that. I speak in my local dialect. I give it instructions in my local dialect. It does the work. And then when it is done with a particular task, I then say to it, okay, everything we have spoken about, convert that to modern, clear, plain English. So we are now empowering people in various languages. Imagine someone speaks Spanish or French. They can work in that language. And then if the output that is required is in English or some other language, they can have the AI system do that conversion. So that is one example of actually impacting humanity because communication is so important and critical for our survival, for business, for our relationships. And leveraging AI to solve this problem is one of the most important applications of our generation. So that is one important aspect. One of the other aspects that folks really enjoyed is the ability of these AI systems to talk, to understand voice input. So a large part of society in almost every country, but let's focus on the Caribbean, is not able to access technology due to literacy challenges. So we're talking about just literacy challenges, and then on top of that, we put digital literacy. So even just the ability to open an app, to click a button, to enter some input, to see the various states of the application to complete a task. We now have AI systems that are leveraging voice. So voice as an input and output procedure in society can greatly impact humanity because now we come to the conversation about inclusivity, accessibility. We're now seeing where even folks that are older, folks who have never utilized the technology, can utilize the knowledge and the voice that they currently have to interface with these systems and to drive results, to get things done. So those are just like two approaches for impacting humanity. One of the other discussions was around climate change. And climate change and climate is a very big discussion right now based on the impacts that are being had on our climate due to fossil fuels and just the way how we go about modern manufacturing and movement and energy generation. AI is now being leveraged by lead climate scientists across the globe to create optimized scenarios and solutions that can actually remedy this situation. So one of the good things about generative AI is its ability to generate scenarios or simulations. So you can say to the AI system, hey, if I do this, what are the 10 things that could possibly happen? And you can leverage that to create situations. and you can see, okay, which one should I implement? Which one has this particular set of trade-offs? Do I need to create more contingencies? So those are some of the high-level discussions about how AI can benefit humanity. There's so many more examples, but those are the ones that come to mind for me.
Right. Yes, I definitely can see AI, helping us to achieve and move closer to the sustainable development goals, for example. So poverty reduction, gender equality, better healthcare, etc. So, and I think though there are going to probably be trade-offs, and everybody's going to have to recalibrate, because when one was talking about the translation services, I said, oh, well, I mean, I guess translators now are, or translation capabilities, to say, well, perhaps, it may limit the need for translators. But of course, translators tend to work in very specific circumstances. But actually then making translation services a lot more accessible to people who would not have otherwise had access. So I mean, definitely something I think is really worthwhile, and certainly too, we in the Caribbean perhaps also just need to understand the dynamics of things. So AI is going to bring positive change, but there are going to be adjustments that need to be made as well. We cannot basically continue along a certain path that we are on, or a certain trajectory, and still expect that if AI is introduced, we'll be able to continue with the same benefits. We need to be able to adjust. But probably touching on one of the last points that you had mentioned about the future of AI being AGI, probably to kind of touch on that a little bit more, because I think when we think of AI, we think of ChatGPT, and we think of generative AI. And what now you're saying is that generative AI, yes, is all well and good, and we are enjoying it, but there are other sorts of paths and advances that are imminent, or probably even already here, that may even eclipse what we are experiencing right now.
Yeah, so I think the discussion around AGI is all about AI system that can think and learn like humans. So the current AI systems are trained on a large, corpus of text, a lot of text from all across the web. Interestingly, some of the discussions that took place at Davos was around the fact that even if you train an AI system with everything on the internet, there are things that a 4-year-old can grasp in 30 minutes. That system that has been trained on the entire web just cannot. So the way how the human brain learns and how these AI models learn is totally different. What they're proposing is that AGI will be able to possibly learn like humans. So observe the environment and pick up certain cues and context from the environment and figure things out. If we were to create a system like that, then this system would basically be able to do all of the economically valuable intellectual tasks that exist in our economy. How would we adapt to that reality if we have a system that can actually surpass our own capabilities? So there is a whole discussion around this, because there is one camp that says that AGI as a concept doesn't really make any sense, and it's not necessarily going to be real, because intelligence doesn't really exist in a vacuum. And then there is another camp that thinks that this will become a system that will be available in the near future. I honestly think that AGI is just something that is an interesting fad right now for practitioners and people to discuss, because we have a lot of sci-fi movies. I honestly think that we don't have to worry about AGI being a thing for the next possibly 5 to 10 years. Probably AI systems will be more capable then. But what I do not want is for there to be a distraction with the AGI discussion and existential conversations when we have real impacts that are being made by AI right now, possibly even silently, things that are happening, changes and shifts in human behavior that are taking place that we don't notice. Because if we look at the current world today, AI has been really impacting how we think and behave for the past 10 years. These social networks, these algorithms, these recommendations that determine what we see, when we see them, who we see, those are driven by AI systems. It's not generative AI, but these are recommendations and prediction algorithms that data science teams at these larger companies are leveraging to determine how the world should operate, what people should see, who they should be connected, etc. So with this new version of AI, generative AI being added to the mix, I think that AGI is an interesting thing to discuss, because if it does happen in some capacity, we want to be prepared and we want to be ready from a regulation standpoint, from an ethical standpoint, from a deployment standpoint. But at the end of the day, I'm always listening when people bring this topic up to see, is this just a distraction from the real issues at hand? Because there is somebody out there possibly benefiting from this distraction being deployed. And I think that, we want to stay focused on the core issues at hand, so that we can ensure that we deploy AI in a safe way for the betterment of humanity.
Right. No, I definitely agree. I mean, I think though, whether or not we'd ever achieve what is the ideal sort of standard for generative, artificial general AI,
Yeah.
it may be, as you say, quite a ways down the road. But I also am recognizing that generative AI and other arms of AI are improving. And
Yes.
so, as you say, the ways in which they're going to be applied is going to evolve. And I think we just need to just continue to be aware of what, how the implications of that, because it may not be as obvious to us. You just see, for example, let's say something like ChatGPT comes out with another version, and we all enjoy what it does, but what does that mean? And what are the implications? So I think those are some the things that of which we should be paying attention to, as you say. But Joel, let's probably shift the conversation, and maybe having had this discussion, what were your sort of takeaways from participating in this meeting that you think probably we in the Caribbean should be probably just paying attention to going forward?
Yeah, that's a very important question. I think one of the main takeaways was that, as a region that is less resourced, and sometimes we aren't able to keep up with these global trends that the first world countries are able to leverage and advance, we still have to position ourselves with the whole goal of creating a strong digital infrastructure. We have to ensure that we are promoting education and training in AI-related fields. As a nation, as we go about embarking on new strategies to leverage the digital realm, we want to create policies that encourage innovation and also responsible AI usage. But most importantly, we have to collaborate with international partners so that we can have external resources being invested in local AI initiatives. Because one of the most interesting things about this current AI wave is the information. There's a lot of information that is needed, and the more information, the better. So the information from our people is just as valuable as the information from other nations as well. The ability for us to use the system and to say if its output is accurate or inaccurate is just as valuable. And there are problems that we have to solve in our country that are still problems that are being solved on the international stage. So I think we have a unique vantage point based on what you have mentioned, the time zones, the similarities in how we speak, a lot of cultural alignments, just a lot of things going for us that can allow us to actually utilize this wave as a really amazing shift in our ability to adapt, in our ability to improve our economy and just the livelihood of our people. And by really taking what it means to be AI enabled in a practical daily sense, we can see some amazing benefits. So earlier today, I actually was, grabbing breakfast and I stumbled on some AI practitioners, some tech folks who are part of our tech communities and boards here in Jamaica. And one of the things that we spoke about was the fact that we can just come up with a list of tasks that take really long in the public and private sector and just showcase how we can utilize AI to move them faster. We don't have to do anything complex. We can actually just find things that AI is extremely good at and have training around that and deploy it. Because one thing about our people, there is nobody that wants to work longer. If if you walk into an office and you say, hey everyone, I'm here to give you a system that will make your jobs and lives easier, that will allow you with a task that is a bit mundane, a task that you don't enjoy doing, that is somewhat monotonous, to make it faster and easier, there is nobody that's going to say, no, I don't want to even explore this capability. So that is how we should drive the discussion. We don't want to go in and talk about how AI works and the benefits of AI. That will fly over everybody's head. Trust me, when they see it working, they will now want the deep dive. So let us now first bring AI into organizations from a practical standpoint. And I think by going from the angle of practicality, we are better able to enhance the processes in the public and private sector regions within the Caribbean. And by doing that, we can then take these learnings and these solutions and we can bring them on the international stage. So that was like one of my main takeaways. When I listened to the problems and the challenges that they were solving on the international stage, it's the same things that we have. The only difference is they're just doing it on a larger scale. So if it's the same set of challenges in various capabilities, then the contextual nature of the current AI space will allow us to provide these solutions and case studies to the wider globe. And I think there lies an amazing future, filled with abundance, filled with possibilities, filled with breakthroughs for our people and for the next generation.
Wonderful. Just going back now to the whole education aspect, because here it is that when we were talking earlier on that we were just having to speak about currently what would be the upskilling and reskilling of individuals to change to increase their capabilities to accommodate AI or other technologies in the workplace. But then when now you look at how we're training people, how students are learning, what they're learning, here it is that oftentimes at the very basic to get a job, I guess some sort of office work, you need, let's say, 3 O-levels, including maths and English. And sometimes that is even hard to come by. So how then do you think education may need to change to be ready and better prepare us for the future that is today and what is to come?
That is a very important question and exploration that it will require several stakeholders to agree on the right approach, because there's just a lot of nuances and complexities involved in just AI usage, training, and deployment. I strongly believe that instead of trying to overregulate AI usage, especially in the educational sector, it needs to become an actual course a very integral part of the curriculum. So what needs to happen is the larger bodies, the ministries that regulate education and the universities, there needs to be panels and committees that determine how we are going to package a course, a training, a simple set of training regimes that can be deployed across schools. So this doesn't have to be anything complex, but it just needs to be a program that allows folks to be exposed to how AI can be used in a beneficial manner. Because by actually deploying it within these spaces and adding it even as a certification, it will then allow us to ensure that people are AI ready. So it won't be a certification that's necessary, like mandatory or anything, but it could be something that helps to set folks apart to showcase that they can leverage these skills, and I do believe people would be very interested. So we will need a top-down approach for the educational part of things. As a nation, we have to come together and put together some materials that can be deployed across high schools and universities that expose people to the technology in the confines of the ethical, business compliance, all of those regulatory policies and laws that we want to govern the appropriate and responsible usage of AI.
Fair enough. But I wondered, therefore, just in terms of, because the way how you spoke about it is that, yes, it might be good to have a course on AI, but oftentimes, especially at the high school level, you may find that what they're teaching, though useful, is something that is probably going to, unless you probably make it, I guess, whether, as I said, well, you were saying optional, but I think compulsory across, so probably from Form 1 or grade 7, up to grade 12 or 11, that everybody gets to learn certain things, because here it is that even now people are using, let's say, ChatGPT, and are running into all sorts of problems because they are not interrogating it correctly. The ways that they're phrasing the questions or whatever it is that they want help with may not be adequate. And so it also has me thinking about whether or not we have to even go back to first principles, the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and logic, and problem solving, critical thinking, which, a course on AI, though good, it may already mean that, the horse has left the stable, because those sorts of fundamentals may be still underdeveloped, even
that's a good point.
You have AI, you have AI courses and programs, etc.
That's an interesting point. I think what I have noticed so far is that utilizing AI responsibly and in a manner for learning has actually improved my critical thinking skills. So the interesting thing about exposing people to AI, even folks who would need to improve critical thinking, problem solving skills, is if what we are teaching is not necessarily just how to use AI now. It's a mindset shift. It's a shift from telling the AI that you wanted to generate an essay so that you can just hand it off to your teacher and say that you wrote it, to asking an AI to create a personalized course for you based on what you understand and based on what you want to learn. So what we are teaching these students and others in society is a mindset shift of how they can ask the system, interface with the systems to teach them things that they do not know. Again, I do agree with you. There are still complexities and nuances with that approach. But I think if as a society, we have to just adopt a stance. I'm going to tell you the stance I've adopted personally. And it's not for everyone, but it works for me. I say AI is my friend. AI is here to help me. AI is here to allow me to accomplish all my goals. That's what that's what I utilize. And because that's an angle I'm leading with, that allows me to be curious. It allows me to ask questions. And it allows me to always be open to learning because I subscribe to the growth mindset. So, of course, putting all of that in some form of material and making it compulsory would be good. We could start out, what I really envision is we introduce it, folks who are interested can do it, and then once we have finalized on a curriculum or a course that works for everyone, then we're like, okay, everybody has to do this because it's important for your ability to function in our context in the Jamaican economy or the wider Caribbean economy. So those are some of the decisions that we'll have to make. But I strongly believe that if we do this, we'll benefit greatly. And a lot of people who don't yet understand AI just with a simple introduction would actually really like it. Most people just have really weird ideas of what it does and who it's for, based on movies and just simply playing around with a few image generation apps. So I strongly believe that we need to just do it. Just create a simple course, a simple mindset shift of how to interface with the technology and just deploy it throughout the region.
All right. I guess I'll leave that one for now. I think we can open it up for some more debate. But I definitely just I appreciate what you said. But I guess I see though, because you spoke about stuff like growth mindset and so on. So you as a person, based on your education, based on your exposure, based on your interests, have a completely different perspective on AI and technology. But the man in the street may not. And here it is that we are trying to ensure that everybody is lifted with technology and how that happens and what that would mean. I think clearly it will definitely require more thought and exploration than what we certainly have time for, and more people who have greater influence and insights than we do. So I think certainly though, hopefully we are spurring some conversations in that regard. But just to probably bring us to a close, Joel, I don't know if you want to share with us any sort of last thoughts. Here it is that you're giving us our marching orders. What is it that you want us to take away, and what can we do? Because it's all well and good that we have some insights from the World Economic Forum's meeting, but it now has to come back to us in developing countries with limited resources, with varying priorities. What do you think we can now do to ensure that we better just position ourselves, and recognizing that there are going to be influences and we're going to experience the impact of AI, not necessarily just from what we do internally within our countries, but what will be coming at us from...
That's true. That's a very good
whether
point.
or not, when I say developing countries, by corporations that have, a footprint in our markets, by governments outside of the region. So how do you think we really should be thinking and positioning ourselves?
That's a very important point. Again, I strongly think one of the core things that we will need to do is we have to enhance our critical thinking skills. We have to question everything. When you question everything, that is how you spot misinformation in its tracks, as it's coming at you to either shift your perspective or give you the wrong idea of something. If we look at the space right now, even when it comes out to cybersecurity, there are a lot of social engineered attacks being made. There's a lot of servers and systems that are being compromised across our country. And it is just showcasing that we're now living in a new era where a lot of the wars are now digital, cyber wars. So what we have to do now as a people is we have to increase our awareness, we have to question everything, but I think most importantly, we have to engage in more dialogue. Conversations like this, we have to share them. I think we have to change the way how we handle information. Information is not scarce, it's not this commodity that we have to hold and not release, but we need to share information more freely, because by sharing information more freely, we'll be able to gather more perspectives, we'll be able to learn, we'll be able to impact other people. So we have to wear the mantle of servant leadership in this time, as there are so many different shifts and shocks taking place across the globe. We have to be advocates for the rights and the challenges that our people face, especially when we are positioned to do so. So this is basically all about taking responsibility for our actions, and also the responsibility of having the power and the means to enact change in an ever-changing global landscape.
Thank you so much, Joel, for joining us and for sharing with us just these insights, because I think we need to continue to have these conversations and to have just information from outside of our sphere, because sometimes I think we can end up in some sort of echo chamber. And yes, we can read the trade publications, but some of those things often get distilled in various ways, and to try to just get insights from, for all intents and purposes, the movers and shakers directly, and those that are influencing our world, be it the tech companies, but also the major businesses and enterprises that are having a major impact and have a major impact on our economies, on our societies, etc. So, I really appreciate you coming and sharing
most definitely
your insights with us. Thank you so much.
Yes, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the ICT Pulse podcast. You can find links to some of the things we talked about on our website, ict-pulse.com. The music is from the composition The Last Word, Chérie by Andy Narrell. If you like this episode, please show your support by leaving us a 5-star review, as it will help others find the show. You can email us at info@ict-pulse.com or drop us a note on social media at ICT Pulse, either on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We hope you'll join us again for our next episode. Take care.